Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Would you join with me as we pray to begin today? Our God of grace and mercy, as the Iowa firefighter family joins together today, we come after an unbelievable 2 years. God, we have faced a COVID pandemic that caused health concerns, isolation, and life changes. We've gone through a derecho that's involved the loss of property and power. God, we've gone through financial changes, unemployment, and all kinds of things in our lives. But Lord, today we've come because of our firefighter family that has lost members in the last 2 years. So today, dear God, we are here today to present ourselves as firefighters, firefighter families, and firefighter friends. We're in this open air memorial to honor the firefighters of Iowa who have passed on. God, we ask for your presence in this service. We ask for your leading in this time. Most of all, we ask for your comfort as we lovingly remember our fallen firefighters of Iowa. We ask for your guidance for all those who are participating today in this event. Thank you for all those who've come miles to be here. And God, we'd ask for your Spirit to guide us in our thoughts and our praise. And we'll be careful to give you all the praise and glory. Amen. You may be seated.
Placing of the gear. As the gear is placed today, we would like to thank and share with the symbolism of each piece represents. The boots. The boots are placed that we may remember the days that our brother and sister walked among us. The coat. The coat is placed as a reminder of our mortal bodies. The gloves. The gloves are placed that we may remember how they touched our lives in many ways. The helmet. The helmet is placed as an assurance that they will live in our hearts and our minds forever. the axe. The axe is placed as a symbol of heritage and tradition within the fire service. That heritage and tradition is what binds us all that are gathered today as we remember those who have gone before us.
Now will be the time that we'll have the placing of the flowers by family members. If those placing flowers would like to form a line, on my left, your right over here, we will hand you a carnation, and you'll be able to speak into the microphone and announce the name of the person that you're placing the carnation. I would ask that the members of the Past Presidents Association come forward as they will be placing the first flower today.
This carnation is placed in the memory of the past presidents of the Iowa Firefighters Association, and especially this past 2 years, Marlon Lyon.
We're placing these carnations for our Grandpa Elmer Gadoff Jr. of the Preston Fire Department.
This is for my husband and my family, Marlon Lyons.
I'm placing this carnation for Carl Johnson Jr. of the Des Moines Fire Department.
For Leonard Borman of Preston Fire Department, my husband and family.
This is for my husband, Stephen Rittenauer, from the Preston Fire Department. Thank you.
We're placing this flower for my father, our father, Robert Cutsforth, with the Waterloo Fire Rescue.
For Roger Nosfish from New Hampton.
This is for Bob Slivka, Osage.
This is for my dad, John Hagan of the Des Moines Airport Firefighter.
For Ivan Berger, Epworth Fire Department. For my dad, Clarence Urban, Epworth Fire Department.
This is for my husband, Darwin Bolts, from Waterloo Fire Rescue.
For my husband, Dennis Moore, Des Moines Fire Department.
This is for my son, Michael Bly, from the Tama Fire.
This is for Robert Bierbauer, the Brandon Fire Department.
This is for our dad, Grandpa, and Gigi Pa, Charles Armberg with the Redville Fire Department for 60 years.
This is for our father, Dick Shoesmith, Redfield.
Remembering and honoring our father, Gene Charles Martin, Redfield Fire Department.
This is for Chuck Yuskevich, Asbury Fire Department.
For Dean Folkers, Alta Vista Fire Department.
For my husband, David Walker, Dad, and Grandpa, Hartford Fire Department.
For my dad, Phil Bay Garrison, City of Des Moines.
Steve Thieler, Akron.
For our son, Blake Pearson, Cloutier Fire Department.
For my dad, Bob Herring, Oxford and Tiffin Fire Department.
This is placed in honor of our brother Jeff Richter, who served with the Atlantic Fire Department.
In memory of Everett Moore, 26 years, Walker Fire.
For Hardy Brown, Carter Lake Fire Department.
This is for our dad, Joe Lipachok, Dunlap.
For William Bill Albright from the Maynard Fire Department.
This is for Carl Gemelin Decora, my husband, father, grandfather, and fire chief of Decora Park.
For my father, Tom Pope, Lewis Fire Department.
For my husband, Dan Bursley, Comanche Fire.
My brother, Jonathan John Drew, Lawton Fire Department.
For our father, Donald Johnson, Albert City Fire Department.
For Richard Stout, Sheraton Fire Department.
For my dad, Gary Scribner, Hartford Fire.
On behalf of Team of Fire, I'm here to place a rose of carnation for Michael Bly, not only a brother, but a cousin.
Keith Neal, Des Moines Fire Department. Husband, dad, grandpa. Gone 4 months yesterday.
For our son, Kevin Randall Ortman, Remsen Fire and Rescue.
Sheridan Roberts, Rhinebeck.
Carl Hadley, Pope Packwood Volunteer Fire Department.
For Bart Germain, husband, Key West Fire Department.
For our father, Harold Speck Brown, Adel Fire Department.
My husband, Galen Johnson, 22 years on the Story City Department.
For my husband, Burl Sims, 45 years with the Des Moines Fire Department.
This is placed for my father, Joe Rowe, who served the Coralville Fire Department.
This is for our papa.
Our dad, Grandpa, Jay Sellers, Sheridan Fire Department.
For our father, grandfather, Harry Henry, West Union Fire Department.
This is for our father, husband, an uncle, a grandpa, Phil Snicky, Walker Fire. And for my brother, Jason Snicky, a father, a brother, an uncle, Walker Fire. Love you guys. Miss you.
Cecil Neff, Monroe Fire Department.
Father, husband, grandfather, Frank Mick, New Sharon Fire Department.
Father, Kevin Struby, Festerville Fire Department, also grandpa and brother.
This is for Red Driesman, my husband and friend. Bye.
For our father, Charles Elmer Wright, Evansdale Fire Rescue.
My husband, Charles Wright, Evansdale.
We're placing this carnation in memory of my father, Leo Butch Anderson, Davenport Fire.
For Jeff Sherburne, Clarksville Fire Department.
This is for Assistant Chief Joe Henders of the Clarksville Fire Department.
For my father, Michael G. Jones, West Des Moines Fire Department.
This is for my father,
My grandpa.
Ronald Conley, Epworth Fire Department.
Ori Peterson Jr., known as Bud Peterson, Algona, Iowa Fire Department, 41 years volunteer, and then 16 years of one-night cooking steaks for him.
My husband, Gary Van Sickle, Nevada Fire Department.
Our dad and brother, Ed Lucan from Louisiana Luxembourg Fire and Rescue.
For my dad,
Grandpa.
James Duber.
For my husband, Bob Van Arkel, Newton Fire Department.
This is for my husband and father, Daniel Howe, Frankville Fire Department.
For a husband, my father, grandparent, Bob Peters, DeWitt Fire Department.
In honor of Bruce Getch of the Frankville Fire Department.
For Tim Holt, Des Moines Fire Department, from his family.
For Gary Miller, Vincent Fire Department, 52 years, my father.
This is for Merrill Miller, Vincent Fire Department, 60 years.
On behalf of the Coralville Fire Department, we honor Chief William Bill Schneider, who passed away in April 1947 while on duty at the fire station. We also honor Dale P. Miller and Joe Rowe, both with greater than 10 years of service. We thank all three of them for their service to the community. Coralville Fire.
For my dad and Sherry's husband, Jim Kahn of the Lewis Fire Department.
For our dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Eddie Myers, New Vienna, Luxembourg Fire Department.
For my dad, Alan Lee Peterson, Exira Fire and Rescue.
For my dad, Dave Dilly Derringer from Wellsburg and Holland Fire Department.
For our father, grandfather, great-grandfather, Edwin J. Bavra, 37 years, Ely Fire.
On behalf of the Ely Fire Department, we lay this flower for Jim Miller, a 40-year member.
This is for our dad, grandpa, and uncle, Kay Book, Packwood Fire Department.
This is for Jerry Meyer, Sheldon, Iowa, and for my dad, Mark Mathis, Sheldon, Iowa, 40 years. For Grandpa.
For Grandpa. This is for our dad and our husband, Jim DuPont, who volunteered to the Sherrill Fire Department for 30 years.
In memory of Brian Bopes, Maquoketa Fire Department.
In memory of my dad, Jerry Willie, Maquoketa Fire Department.
This is in memory of my departed brothers from the Maquoketa Fire Department.
Roger Kramer, Waukoma Fire Department and Waukoma First Responders.
In memory of our brothers of the West Summit Fire Department, William L.T. Phillips, Harry Henry, Larry Daniels, and Cameron Cam Miller.
In memory of my husband, Burton Craig Davison, husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather from the Waukett Fire Department.
For my papa, Leo Lucky Ward.
For our grandpa, Leo Lucky Ward.
For our father, Curtis Newcomb of the West Liberty Fire Department.
For my dad, David Bodker, Loudon.
In honor of Alan Willman, 49 years with Wyoming Volunteer Fire, husband, dad, and grandpa.
For my father, Dale P. Miller of the Coralville Fire Department. Dad, father, great-grand.
In honor of my dad, Cam Miller of West Union Fire Department.
This is in memory of the Belle Plaine firefighters who died this past year. Kurt Hinchberger, Marv DeReek, and Roger Pyburn.
This carnation is placed in memory of my husband, Thomas McDonald Williams, also known as Scotty, 27 years with the Manning Fire Department.
This flowers for my father, Dick Slaughter, 60 years, Wayland and Kelowna Fire and Rescue.
This flowers for my husband, Leon Brockman, 31 years, Sherrill Fire Department, husband, father, great-grandfather, great-grandfather.
This flower is for Chris Crutchfield of Story City.
This flower is for Jim Phillips of Story City.
This flower is for Mike Heller of the Claremont Fire Department, father, grandpa, and husband.
In memory of John Breda, Sheraton Fire Department.
In memory of Chief Tom Bells, 36 years as a Milo Fire Chief and one of the best we've ever had.
This one's in memory of John Hanson, Milo Fire Department.
This is for Jim C., Sheraton Fire Department.
This is for Tim Hartman, Des Moines Fire Department.
This is for Charles L. Patterson, Toledo Fire, 50+ years of service.
This is in memory of our dad, Bob Engelken. He was a husband, a father of 3, and
Grandpa served in New Vienna, Luxembourg Fire Department for 33 years.
This is for our daughter, Annalise Chapman of Riverdale Fire Department.
For former Chief Don McCarthy, Monticello Fire.
This is for our dad and grandpa, Rusty Buckley, Erling Fire Department.
This is for our father, Leslie Eddie Dorset, Des Moines Fire.
For my father, Richard Dick Taylor, Brooklyn Fire.
Yeah, memory of my husband, Richard Dick Taylor from Brooklyn Fire Department, and his children.
For our dad, Chris Keller, Brooklyn Fire.
For Ted Erb and Cliff Harrison, both of the Grettinger Fire Department.
Arnold C. Hang, Cylinder Fire Department.
We place this flower for our father, Gary McClenathan of Brooklyn Fire.
For my dad, Paul Andreessen, Dubuque Fire Department.
Husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather.
This is for my husband, Michael D. Boatwright, Des Moines Fire Department, and his family.
For my husband, correctional officer and firefighter Robert McFarland from Ely.
This is for my grandpa, Ray.
For our father and husband, Raymond G. Hill from Packwood Fire and Rescue.
This is for our grandfather, W.L. Bill Phillips, who served on the West Union Fire Department for 58 years.
For our dad, Jerry Waylert, father, husband, grandpa, Exira Fire Department.
This is for our father, Donald L. Stuva, retired from the Des Moines Fire Department.
This is for our father, Ron Stalder, Washington Fire and Rescue, 44 years.
Bride Jerry Iowa, my husband.
William Schneider, Chief, Coralville Fire Department.
Dale Young, Leon Fire Rescue. This is for our mother, Dorothy Ann Schieffer, Carter Lake Fire.
In honor of my dad, Ray Spanky Thomas, Des Moines Fire Department, 36 years.
In loving memory of a son, brother, father, Curtis Wahlberg of the Storm Lake Fire Department.
The family presents in memory of Robert W. Reel, 25 years, Guthrie Center Fire Department.
For my daddy, Dean L. Schroeder from Clarion, husband, father, grandpa, and great-grandpa.
My dad, Roger Shipper, New Hartford Fire Department.
This is for husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Robert E. Laswell, Salem Fire and Rescue.
In memory of my husband, Evan Bechtel, West Burlington Fire Department, and Southeast Honor Guard.
In memory of my brother, Evan Bachtel.
In memory of Dale Lucky Lechtenberg, father, husband, grandpa, New Hampton Fire Department.
In memory of Leland, also known as Bud McCarville, Cresco Fire Department.
In memory of Dick Bays, Sheriff and Volunteer Fire Department, Dad, Grandpa, and Great-Grandpa.
This is for my dad, George R. Basil, my grandfather, George W. Basil, and my great-grandfather, William Basil, all of Vining Fire Department.
In memory of Jeff Roberts of Exera Fire Department.
Jason L. Bidding, Keokuk, Iowa, who gave the ultimate sacrifice. He was a father and a papa.
Papa Kevin Meyer, Ackley Fire Department.
We're here for the memory of 28 Des Moines firefighters.
We're here in memory of the Dyersville firemen that have passed before us, especially this year, Robert Bob Fitzgerald, Patrick Sherman, and James Meyer.
This is for our father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and husband, Alan Tim Fire.
In memory of my father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Fred Heckert, at Tumble Fire Department.
We are here today to honor the departed members of the Preston Fire Department, especially today, Leonard Borman, Earl Kilberg, Robert Bob Kilberg, Steve Rittenauer, Roger Stucken, and Elmer Yadov Jr., which passed away in the last 3 years.
In memory of my uncle, Dale Fogelson, Des Moines Fire Department.
In honor of my father, Anthony Thomas Stefano, 36 years on the fire department, Des Moines, grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Lieutenant Steve Poindexter, Leon Fire and Rescue, friend and mentor.
On behalf of our families, this is in honor of our father, Jack Hahn, who served several decades on the Dunlap Fire and Rescue Squad.
In memory of Kenneth L. Love, Frank Rose, Carson Fire.
In memory of my husband, Tom Sauser, gone 14 years but not forgotten, and his friends on the Monticello Fire Department, Rich Kreminga and Don McCarthy.
Husband Bob Wheeler, District Chief of the Des Moines Fire Department. 3 wonderful children, 7 grandchildren, and 14 grandchildren.
This is in memory of Don Sahaski, Decorah Fire Department, and a partner of mine at the State Fire Marshal's Office, Richard Wall.
In memory of my grandfather, Dennis Arnell Moore, thank you for your 29 years of service for the Des Moines Fire Department.
Love you, Papa. Thank you for your service.
This is for Dennis Moore Sr. Thank you for your 29 years of service for the Des Moines Fire Department.
It's in memory of past President John Schwab, Osage Fire.
This is also for Dennis Moore Sr. We'd like to give a thanks for his 29 years with the Des Moines Fire Department. He's been gone from our family for 7 months now. So.
My father.
family waits, tears in their eyes. From the sounds of the sirens to the fighting of the flames, there are those who take the chances, the heroes and the brave. It's a fight of a lifetime, it's a life they've come to save. The ones who pledged it all and lost, those who still remain. You know heroes never die. Like an eagle, they will fly. And the memories and the love they leave behind live forever in our minds. Heroes never die. On the valleys and the forest, save a life or save the land. They give it all they've got, brotherhood of fighting hands. And it's humbling to think that they'll give until the end. A song that goes out to them, the women and the men. You know heroes never die. Like an eagle, who they will fly. And the memories and the love they leave behind live forever in our minds. Heroes never die. They live forever in our minds. Where would we be without our heroes? Ladies and gentlemen, if you could turn your attention here to the chrome bell. The chrome bell is a symbol of fire service and cell phones. Not bad. Okay. Sometimes the microphone will get a cell phone signal cut off when it's wireless. Okay, you can all hear me again. This is a good spot. The fire service is built upon ritual, ceremony, tradition, and one of the things that is most in our service today is the bell ceremony. The bell is a fitting symbol of recognizing those our ranks. The fire service, if any of you were with me back in the early 90s when we all started coming together here, our first service was in 94, the fire service bell that I had was attached to an alarm box. I had an 1890s alarm box and bell, and I would strike the ceremonial signal of the bells through the fire alarm box. And it is different. What can I say? It's a little bit different today because we're using a truck bell. The truck bell here is what they call a 12-inch bell, and it's very ceremonial. It looks like an American La France bell, and it's got an eagle on the top. Okay, what went on in fire service and bells actually started with the invention of the telegraph. In 1844, Morse invented the telegraph. In 1852, a doctor in Boston used the power of the telegraph system to use the interruptions of the telegraph principle to strike bells. And so it was I don't know what's happening. It was very successful for the bells to strike in a numerical order. Like every street corner, every important building in Boston, hospitals, schools, things like that, they had a fire alarm box attached to it. And there was a number. It could be box 24 was at the hospital. Box 37 might be at a factory. Box 46 might be the street corner a block away from home. And this is how firefighters were summoned back then. Eventually in New York City, with all the firehouses they had, they came up with a special code. And they said, if we do this striking of the 4-5s. This will tell all the stations to get ready and come down to the watch room, that something happened, that a member of our service died in the line of duty. So the bell ceremony, because the character wheels of these fire alarm boxes were done in a cycle of 4s, this was a very unique signal, as you can imagine. When they would hear the repeated strikes 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the men would stop what they're doing at the firehouse and they would assemble on the watchroom floor. And the telegraph would start clapping out the signal, and the watch desk would write down the symbol of, or I should say, he would translate the Morse code into a message, and they would read what happened and who it happened to. So if the signal, we could do it again today, and we're going to try and replicate it the best we can with the bell here. Let us go back in time to the 1800s when this all started happening. So those of you that are able to stand, could you please stand for the ceremony? Bell captain, please strike the 4-5s. At the conclusion of the striking of the 4-5s, the watchman on the desk would read his Morse code writing and say that a member of our fire service has passed away in the line of duty, and they would probably have a short prayer, a moment of silence, of remembrance, and they would then go back and conduct their business of the day as firefighters on duty. Thank you for this. Please be seated.
Our first reading of names this morning will be the names of the departed firefighters since our 2019 memorial service that are not on the walls. These were taken from the Iowa Firefighter newspaper, July of 2019 to May of 2021. Calvin Adams, Mount Ayr. James Astrop, Glenwood. Albert Beck, Belle Plaine. Karen Benson, Associate Member. Robert Beersford, Troy Mills. David Botcher, Loudon. Stephen Bolton, Oyens. Brian Boakes, Maquoketa. Jairus Branson, Sioux Center. Clarence Brown, Wyoming. Donald Brown, Independence. Eugene Brown, Wyoming. Don Burke, Charlotte. Donald Carsonson, Wyoming. Dale Cleveland, Carson. Dan Cronin, Oyens. Marv Durike, Belle Plaine. Robert Bob Eichelberger, Camrar. Darwin Ellis, Oyens. Devin Estabrook, Grandview. Charlie Falconer, Harlan. Ron Fueling, Monona. Ronald Gregg, Eldora. Luke Gregory, Ralston, Scranton. Jeff Haley, Creston. Wallace Henningsen, Oyens. B.J. Hess, Sumner. Dwight Hill, Iowa Army Ammunition Plant. Kurt Hinchberger, Belle Plaine. Joseph Hahn, Ely. Russ D. Horgan, St. Ansgar. Charles Hutchkins, Guthrie Center. Carl Johnson, Guthrie Center. James Kraus, Farley. Donald Lane, State Center. Thomas Lavelle, Cedar Rapids. Larry Lynn, Atlantic. Forrest Mayberry, Glenwood. Larry McDowell, Ackley. Donald Meyer, Postville. Albert Oden, Wall Lake. Dan Orwig, Rolfe. Derek R. Parker, Victor. Lewis Peterson, Sioux City. Norman Ping, Cedar Falls. Dennis Punt, Orange City. Otto Rasmussen, Manila. James Reese, Sioux City. Leo Reisner, Olwine. Cecil Roberts, Hartwick. Virgil Rogers, Brandon. Dwayne Red Rollins, Carson. Daryl Salmons, Cedar Falls. Harry Smith, Malcolm. Donald Stivers, Glenwood. Raymond Stoll, Albion. Gerald Suma, Mount Ayr. Alan Swenson, Thompson. Bernard Thielen, Albia. James Treat, Macokota. John R. Olch, Belle Plaine. Francis Wenthold, Ossian. Gerald Jerry Willie, Macokota. Kenneth Williams, Albia. Roger Williams, Jessup. John Zutenhorst, Orange City. Our second reading of names will be the names that were added to the wall in 2020. William Bill Albrecht, Maynard. Leo Anderson, Davenport. Ty Arp, Maysville. Larry Atkinson, Comanche. Harold Alt, Rendalia. Evan Bechtel, West Burlington. Lawrence Barr, Quimby. Ben Battelle, Walcott. Howard L. Bennett Sr., Redfield. Ivan Berger, Epworth. Michael J. Bly, Tama. Michael D. Boatwright, Des Moines. Vernon D. Boots, Mechanicsville. Robert E. Bob Bryant, Des Moines. Harold Speck Brown, Adel. Melvin R. Bruce, Walcott. Rusty Buckley, Erling. Fred Busey, Sergeant Bluff. Doug Calley, Guthrie Center. Annalise Chapman, Riverdale. Melvin E. Cook, Cedar Rapids. John Cressy, Macokota. Donald Dover Davy, Dunlap. James Russell Davy, Dunlap. Burton Davison, Walcott. Anthony T. DeFino, Des Moines. Leslie E. Eddie Dorset, Des Moines. Alvin Red Griezmann, Parkersburg, Applington. James DuPont, Sherrill. Edward Isley, Fredericksburg. Howard W. Ernst, Marshalltown. William N. Eubank, Quimby. Ladine Fisher, Guttenberg. Donald M. Fite, Des Moines. Dale E. Fogelson, Des Moines. Robert Frick, Walcott. Philip A. Garrison, Des Moines. Bart L. Germain, Key West. Stanley Geis, Walcott. Carl L. Hadley, Polk Packwood. John Lewis Heyman, Davenport. Orville Fredge Heckert, Ottumwa. Arnold C. Hang, Cylinder. Harry Henry, West Union. David John Jake Hershey, Des Moines. Carl A. Tim Holt, Des Moines. Gary L. Hovland, Kanawha. Wes Eisenhower, Fredericksburg. Jonathan G. Jundrew, Lawton. Stanley E. Johnson, Salix. Michael G. Jones, West Des Moines. Ralph Kebrick, Spencer. Bill Kilcher, Fredericksburg. Joseph W. Kramer Jr., Fairfax. Robert E. Laswell Sr., Salem. Robert D. Leyland, Audubon. William A. Leinberg, LeClaire. Joseph Don Lippick, Dunlop. Bob Lowe, Washington. Harold Lubin, Macokota. James V. Jim Mandersheet, Macokota. Joseph James McPoland, Sherrill. Kevin Meyer, Ackley. Frank Mick, New Sharon. Gary P. Miller, Vincent. Cameron Kathy Miller, West Union. Merrill L. Miller, Vincent. Dennis R. Meyer, Des Moines Airport. Larry K. Nelson, Quimby. Curtis Newcomb, West Liberty. Kevin Randall Ortman, Remsen. Dean A. Parker, Des Moines. Charles L. Patterson, Toledo. Alan Lee Peterson, Exira. Jim Phillips, Story City. Stephen Wilkie Piper, Eldora. Robert W. Reel, Guthrie Center. Jeffrey J. Richter, Atlantic. David Sheridan Duff Roberts, Rhinebeck. Jeff Roberts, Exira. Dickie Lee Schachter, Wayland. Lester Schmitz, Portsmouth. Dean L. Schroeder, Clarion. Charles Schultz, Whittemore. Ron Stadler, Washington. Tyson R. Stevenson, Quimby. Gail Stickley, Maquoketa. Tom Tanner, Washington. Ronald Tearing, Davenport. Jim Thompson, Letts. Alvin Tim, Tama. Calvin Twining, Des Moines. Charles Chuck Yuskevich, Asbury. Bob Van Arkel, Newton. Jerry Whaler, Exira. Don Walters, Guthrie Center. David E. Wax, Sergeant Bluff. Paul H. Way, Colesburg. Russ Wegner, Fredericksburg. Leroy Wood, Traer. Raymond Wood, Mason City. Bob Zager, Washington. Our third group of names today will be the names that went on the wall this year, 2021. Kenneth B. Anderson, Des Moines. Paul V. Andreessen, Dubuque. Charles L. Arnberg, Redfield. Tom Bales, Milo. George R. Basil, Vining. Richard Dick Bays, Sheridan. Robert Bierbauer, Brandon. Jerome Becker, Glidden. Marlo Benson, Sergeant Bluff. August Augie Binder, Hawkeye. W.E. Benji Bingaman, Sheridan. Dan Birdsley, Comanche. Leslie Nick Blitzkin II, Bellevue. Darwin Dale Bolts, Waterloo. Gary W. Book, Packwood. Leonard Borman, Preston. John P. Breda, Sheridan. Charles Bud Bransfield, Des Moines. Leon Brockman, Sherrill. C.A. Burt Brown, Sergeant Bluff. Hardy Brown, Carter Lake. Ernest Bruns, Sigourney. William L. Burke, Des Moines. Frank Byers, Sergeant Bluff. Adolph Kramer, Sergeant Bluff. Leonard Kramer, Sergeant Bluff. Roy Kramer, Sergeant Bluff. Sam Kramer, Sergeant Bluff. Clifford Carey, Decorah. Dwayne Caskey, Redfield. Al Sertain, Sergeant Bluff. Jerry James Clark, Des Moines. James R. Kahn, Lewis. Ronald Conley, Epworth. Walter Coyne, Sergeant Bluff. Chris Crutchfield, Story City. Robert E. Cutsforth, Waterloo. George D. Danger, Buckeye. Larry Daniels, West Union. John Davis, Sergeant Bluff. Dave Dilly Derringer, Holland and Wellsburg. Darrell Dunnigan, Sergeant Bluff. James H. Duver, Des Moines. Bob Engelking, New Vienna, Luxembourg. Theodore Erb, Grettinger. Robert Fitzgerald, Dyersville. Dean Folkerts, Alta Vista. Hans Fredrickson, Sergeant Bluff. Claude Funk, Mason City. Bruce Glauberg, Des Moines. J. Bruce Gotch, Frankville. Louis Guthrie, Stewart. A. John Hagan, Des Moines Airport. Raymond Jean Hale, Packwood. Ronnie J. Hamner, Winterset. John Andrew Hanson, Milo. Bob Harder, Sergeant Bluff. Roger L. Harder, Keystone. Clifford Harris, Grettinger. Timothy Paul Hartman, Des Moines. John Jack Hahn, Dunlap. Michael Frank Heller, Clermont. Robert Henry Herring, Tiffin. Harold R. Hill, Packwood. Joe Hinders, Clarksville. Carl Chemlin, Decorah. Dennis Hovden, Ridgeway. Daniel Wayne Howe, Frankville. Herschel Hurd, Sergeant Bluff. Clarence Husby, Sergeant Bluff. Lowell Jake Jacobson, Jewell. James W. Jarris, Oxford. Donald Johnson, Albert City. Galen Johnson, Story City. Carl W. Johnson Jr., Des Moines. Chris Keller, Brooklyn. Earl Kilberg, Preston. Robert Kilberg, Preston. Roger Kramer, Wacoma. Mark Leahy, Epworth. Dale Lechtenberg, New Hampton. Peter Pete Little, Des Moines. Kenneth L. Love, Carson. Ed Lucan, New Vienna, Luxembourg. Marlon Lyons, Van Horn, who was past president. Thomas McDonald Williams, Manning. Eddie Mayers, New Vienna, Luxembourg. Gene Martin, Redfield. Harry Mather, Sergeant Bluff. Mark Mathis, Sheldon. Philip J. McBride, Zering. Donald McCarthy, Monticello. Leland Bud McCarville, Cresco. Gary A. McLenathan, Brooklyn. Robert McFarland, Ely. Ed Mercer, Sergeant Bluff. Clifford Merrill, Esterville. James V. Meyer, Dyersville. Jerry Meyer, Sheldon. Leslie M. Michaels, Bellevue. Dale P. Miller, Coralville. Jim Miller, Ely. Roger Munson, Lake Mills. Britt Montgomery, Tipton. Dennis A. Moore Sr., Des Moines. Everett Moore, Walker. Preston Mustafa, Sergeant Bluff. Keith J. Neal, Des Moines. Cecil D. Neff, Monroe. Alvin L. Nemmers, Sherrill. Roger Lewis Nussbich, New Hampton. Don Offenberger, Sheridan. Art Olson, Sergeant Bluff. Blake Pearson, Cloutier. Bob Peters, DeWitt. Jerry Peters, Floyd. Ori Bud Peterson Jr., Algona. W.L. Phillips, West Union. Steve Poindexter, Leon. Thomas J. Pope, Lewis. Mike Porter, Ida Grove. Terry Richardson, Tiffin. Steve Rittenauer, Preston. Kenneth Carl Rodin Jr., Des Moines. Joe Rowe, Coralville. Nicholas S. Romano, Des Moines. Frank Rose, Carson. Fred Rundle, Sergeant Bluff. Neil Rush, Sergeant Bluff. Thomas Lee Sheeler, Winterset. Patrick Shearman, Dyersville. Dorothy Ann Schieffer, Carter Lake. Richard Schmosh, Cresco. William A. Schneider, Coralville. Gus Schultz, Sergeant Bluff. Dennis Scott, Mason City. Gary Shriver, Indianola, Hartford. James Jim C., Sheridan. Jay Sellers, Sheridan. Jeff Sherburne, Clarksville. Dick Shoesmith, Redfield. Verl N. Sims, Des Moines. Eldon Simmons, Thompson. Chuck Skinner, Sergeant Bluff. Robert L. Slifka, Osage. Jason Schnitsky, Walker. Phil Schnitke, Walker. Paul Sorensen, Lake Mills. Roger Stuckman, Preston. Richard Stout, Sheridan. Kevin Struby, Esterville. Donald L. Stuva, Des Moines. Fred Swanson, Sergeant Bluff. Harold Todd Schwick, Tipton. Richard Dick Taylor, Brooklyn. Sylvan James Taylor, Clermont. Steve Teeler, Akron. Ray Spanky Thomas, Des Moines. Alton Thompson, Sergeant Bluff. Terrence J. Tigg, Sherrill. Clarence Urbane, Epworth. Jason Van Hollen, Sioux Center. Gary Lynn Van Sickle, Nevada. William M. Bill Vaughn Sr., Bellevue. Edwin J. Vavra, Ely. Curtis Wahlberg, Storm Lake. David Walker II, Hartford. Erland W. Walter, Decorah. Leo Richard Ward, Des Moines Airport. Lee Westfall, Sergeant Bluff. Robert Bob Wheeler, Des Moines. Dean Williams, Stewart. Alan E. Willman, Wyoming. Clarence Elmer Wright, Evansdale. Elmer Yadoff Jr., Preston. Dale Young, Leon. Robert Zahaski, Decorah. Richard Zeke Zarn, Davenport. This year we've added one name to the center panel, an individual that paid the ultimate sacrifice. It is the goal of the Iowa Firefighters Memorial Committee to honor all fallen firefighters, no matter what the date. And we became aware of this one not so very long ago. William A. Bill Schneider was born in 1901 and lived in Coralville. He worked for the University of Iowa for maintenance and was known as the hands-on guy. He joined the Coralville Fire Department about 1930 and was appointed fire chief in 1937. His untimely death came while working on a fire truck at the station in April of 1947. His death was ruled accidental due to carbon monoxide poisoning. Mr. Schneider is the 153rd line of duty death recognized here at the Iowa Firefighters Memorial. Because of the time, I guess I would like to read the article that appeared in the paper. Carbon monoxide blamed in death of Hillcrest janitor. The flag over Old Capitol flew at half-mast yesterday for William A. Schneider, 46-year-old head janitor at Hillcrest, who was found dead from carbon monoxide Wednesday afternoon in the Coralville Fire Station. A Coralville Heights resident, Schneider was also a volunteer fire department member and had entered the station to do repair work on a fire engine. Coroner Frank Love's investigated revealed the death was accidental. Schneider's body was found by his daughter Marilyn after a check was made when he did not appear for work at Hillcrest. The coroner said he had not been dead for longer than an hour. Surviving Schneider are his wife, daughter, mother, and one brother, Ben Schneider. The panel to the far right is reserved for Iowa Firefighters Association past presidents. The past president we lost this year was Marlon Lyons of Van Horn. Marlon was a charter member of the Iowa Firefighters Memorial Committee and served as Iowa Firefighters Association president in 1993 to 1994. He was president at the time of the dedication of this memorial on April 10th, 1994. Marlon died October 16th, 2020. He leaves behind his wife Patsy, 3 children, and their families. We will now ring the bell one final time for any firefighter's name we may have missed. Today we've added 280 names.
There have been a total of 280 names added to the wall in 2020 and 2021. As of June 2021, there are a total of 3,132 on the memorial walls. 2,888 of those firefighters served in their local departments for 10 years or more and died while active firefighters. 153 names are engraved on the ultimate sacrifice wall. Those firefighters died in the line of duty. This year we added William Schneider of Coralville. William died while working on a fire apparatus inside the fire station, April of 1947. 88 past presidents from the Iowa Firefighters Association are remembered on the front panel. In 2010, the association changed its name to the Iowa Firefighters Association. The IFA Memorial's founding organization remains active with the growth and the care of this memorial site.
We're now coming to a close of our time this morning. And as we do that, I'd ask you to do one thing. Would you just look around and see all the people around you? These are firefighters and firefighter families. We are all tied together with the same string. We are a family throughout the state of Iowa. And today we've come to remember those that have gone before us, and even one that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And so today I would just invite you that if you feel a little lonely here, in other words, you're saying, I'm just from a small department, I might be the only one there, reach out and meet somebody today. Meet one of the other family members and get to know them. Because you hear the richness of the heritage that's here. Every name on this wall, you can go to the website and take a look at it and just put a name in, or put just your marker on the name, and it'll bring up the biography of that person. There's a deep, rich heritage here in this firefighter memorial. And I'd ask you to discover it and to discover each other, because we're all on a team together. Now I would ask us to join together in prayer before we close our time. Dear God, this morning we have remembered and cried fresh tears of sorrow. We've placed our wreaths, received the flowers, added the names to the wall. We have rung the bell to tribute, in the tribute of the members that are missing. We now present our fallen firefighters into your eternal care. Please guide and protect all our firefighters now and as they return back to their communities and their positions on their staffs. God, I pray also that you would protect the families and the friends who have come to be a part of today. I ask you protection over them as they return to their respective homes. Now, God, please dismiss us with your spirit of strength and your peace of heart. God, today has been a tough day for some people, and it's been a very rewarding day for most of us and all of us to give thanks for those who served so well before us. We thank you for them. And with all these things we pray, amen. We will now have a closing song, and then if you would, we're going to do a balloon release, and I'll come back and give some instructions for that.
to start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. Flag still stands for freedom. They can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the bayous of Louisiana to the hills of Tennessee, across the farmlands of Iowa, from sea to shining sea. From Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart. It's time we stand and say, you can join in, please. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you for your attendance here today. Symbolizes the respect and caring love to our fallen firefighters. It also demonstrates your support and admiration of the firefighters of Iowa who battle flame and rage in an effort to make Iowa a safer place to live. Thank you from the Iowa Firefighters Committee. You are dismissed.